Hello, people. Welcome to another episode of Grand Football TV. If you are new here, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
I'll go do that now.
So it is game week 37, boys. Game week 37. Wow, it is the penultimate week before the final day of the season. Whoa! The season's coming to an end. I mean, we don't like to see it come to an end because we've been enjoying ourselves with all the games that have been coming up and all the drama, all the results. But we have to have a winner, and we have to have people who are relegated, those who are coming up, those who are qualified for Europe, and those who have had a great season that would go back and reflect and decide on who their new signings will be and all that. Yes, it's going to be happening soon, come the summer. But before then, let's look at game week 37. So this week is going to encompass all the games that are left, so that when we get to game week 38, everyone is playing at the same time. That's normally the tradition. Everyone plays at the same time in the last game of the season. So every outstanding game is going to be played from now till the end of, the middle of next week. All the games are going to be played. Yeah, so we are going to be looking at all those games quickly and I'll just give my honest opinion quickly on each game. Yeah, so the first game we'll be looking at is Fulham versus Manchester City. Fulham versus Manchester City. This is a big game for Manchester City because they need to keep that hope alive. They're definitely going to win the league if they win all their games, starting from this game, and they have one more game which we'll talk about later. But this is the game it's a big week. It's a big week. So they play weekend, they play midweek, and they play at the weekend for the final game. So 3 big games for Manchester City. But as an Arsenal fan, you'd hope that this is the game they actually slip up. Because if you're hoping on your next door neighbors, Tottenham, to do you a favor, it might not work. So this is the game I'm hoping, guys. This is the game I'm hoping that they drop points. But knowing Manchester City, when their eyes are locked on that trophy, that's it. So it would take a miracle. It would take a big miracle for Arsenal to actually come on top now that City can see the end. Anyway, back to the game. Fulham versus Man City. I see this game being a very tough one for Manchester City because the pressure will be on. And Fulham are a good side. They've played some decent football all through the season. And they have beat some, top dogs at home. Arsenal being one of them. In fact, Arsenal was the game when they beat Arsenal. I think that was the last game Arsenal lost at the back end of last year and then went on the trip to Dubai and came back a different team. So, yeah, Fulham could cause an upset, but do they have the ingredients at the moment to cause an upset? I don't think so, because Erling Haaland's back, and from last showing where he scored 3 goals, Erling is back and he wants to cement that golden boot. I mean, he hasn't been as prolific, yes, that's the word, prolific as last season. But then again, you have to remember, he hasn't actually played all the games like last season. He's missed quite a few more games than he did last season. So it'll be a very tricky one. But I'm going to stick my neck out and say Fulham will cause an upset. And I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go with a draw for this one. Come on, Fulham. Do it for London. That's not how football works. But I'll be happy if it does. You know what I mean? So I'm sticking my head out and I'm saying a draw for that game. And then we have the next game, Bournemouth versus Brentford. Bournemouth versus Brentford. This one should be a dead rubber because both teams, nothing really they're fighting for. They're both, really safe. They're both not fighting for Europe, I think. None of them is fighting to get into Europe. So this is just going to be a game where everyone just enjoys themselves. They just come out and play football, and whatever happens, happens in this game. But I'm going to stick more with Bournemouth because they gave Arsenal a good game in as much as they lost 3-0. So this game, I think they will come out and want to, right that wrong and say, look, let us give our home fans something to cheer about, even if we're not fighting for anything. At least we are safe. So let's give them something to be very, very cheerful about. So I'm going to go for a Bournemouth win. Yep. And then the next game is Everton versus Sheffield United. This would have been a very, very, very important game if both teams were still fighting to stay in the league. But one is safe and one is relegated. So this game, it might just be for pride. Everyone just playing for pride. Everton wanting to give their home fans something to cheer about. And then Sheffield trying to make sure that they don't go out with a whimper, losing too many games and creating even more record than they have already done. So I'm thinking they would turn up for this game, but in as much as they would turn up, I still think Everton will be too strong for them. So I'm going to go for a slim Everton win. I'm going to go for a slim, maybe a 1-0 or a 2-1, one of them kind of results. Or we have a high-scoring game, but still a slim win, like a 3-2, a 4-3, not a 5-4. Yeah, so anyway, we move to the next game. Newcastle versus Brighton. Newcastle versus Brighton. So Newcastle have been playing well lately, after a very, very shaky start to the year. They have started playing well, albeit towards the end of the year. They might still be able to qualify for Europe. So I reckon they will take this game seriously because they win then I think their remaining games and they should be in with a shout to be in Europe. So they might play really well. They might play really well. And for that reason is why I'm going to go with the home team to win the game. The home team to win. Brighton, on the other hand, they won their last game, which is a very important win against a team that's fighting for Europe, just to show that they can still compete. But this might just be too much for them. I reckon it'll be too much. And then we have Tottenham versus Burnley. Tottenham versus Burnley. So Tottenham, they've had 4 losses. Would this be 5? Could this be the magic 5? Could they actually lose again to a team who's fighting to stay at the top of the league, to stay in the Premier League? It'd be interesting to see what Tottenham team turns up because I know for a fact Burnley will have to give it their biggest go. This is their final game to try and save themselves. Anything but a win in this game, that's it. Game over. Because they won't be able to recover in the last game. The points might be too many, might be 1 point too much for them to catch up, depending on what the other teams play. But this is the game where they have to win, and they have to win comfortably so they go into that last game, with a lot of hope. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm going to go for a Tottenham win because Tottenham know that they play another team who they probably won't be able to beat next. So this is the team they would want to beat. So I reckon that Tottenham would be able to sneak a win in this one and get the result. Then we have West Ham versus Luton. West Ham versus Luton. I'm sure we've all heard the stories that David Moyes will be leaving at the end of the season, and they have got the services of the former Wolves manager, Lopetegui. So a new start next season, but Moyes has to finish the job at the end of the season. So it all depends what team turns up. We're not sure what team will turn up because that Luton side as well are fighting to stay in the league. So Luton, would come for blood. They would want to win that game. So it'd be interesting to see if West Ham turn up or not. But anyway, the way it's looking, they probably will have to turn up for that game. Otherwise, they will be in serious, serious trouble. They'll be in serious, serious trouble. So yeah, I think Luton would actually win this game. I'm actually going for a Luton win. I think Luton might be able to scrape a win from this one because West Ham, they're safe, so there's nothing really they're fighting for now. And obviously, the news of the manager might have an effect. I mean, they might not agree with it, that it's having an effect on them, but I think it will. And they might not play at the best of their ability right now. So, yeah, Luton, who has something to play for, might just nick it. And now they have their striker, Elijah Adebayo, back. Woo! They might just be problems for West Ham. They might just cause them problems. So yeah, I'm going for a Luton slim win. Yeah. And then we have Wolverhampton versus Crystal Palace. Wolverhampton versus Crystal Palace. One had a great showing over the last weekend and the other didn't. Wolverhampton were very poor against Manchester City, and Crystal Palace were very good against Manchester United. So it all depends what they bring to this game. Crystal Palace are safe. They're playing really well. Their players are in form. All their players are back. Mateta's in form. All that. But Wolves, I'm not sure if this is their last home game, but if it is, they would want to make sure that, look, we don't lose this one. We have to give our fans something to cheer about even as we go for the end of the season. So, yeah, it might just be a tricky one to call who would win. But I'm going to go for away win to Crystal Palace because they're the team in form. They're playing really well. So I'm sure they won't just come here and just lie down and take a beating. They would want to make sure that they, finish the season on a high and take it into next season. So I'm going for Crystal Palace to come up with a win against Wolves. Okay, we have Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Another very, very tricky game because, first of all, Nottingham Forest are also fighting for their life. And I'm sure you heard that their points deduction appeal got rejected. So they are still where they are. Nothing's going to change. So they have to change things by themselves and try and win their game. So I think Nottingham Forest will be up for this one. And they're playing at home. Chelsea, although are playing really well lately, getting some good results. Got a good result against Villa. Got a good result against Tottenham. Got a good result against West Ham. So they're a team in form right now. And obviously Cole Palmer's back. So they might just cause an upset. But this game, I reckon Nottingham Forest might just have to play even more than 100% to get the win because Chelsea are playing well. I'm going to go for an away win. I'm going to go for Chelsea because they're playing really well. So I don't see them coming here and losing this game. I mean, worst case scenario, it might be a draw, but I've just got an inkling that they might just win this one. So I'm going for a away win to Chelsea. Okay, our next game is the big one. The big one for the weekend. Manchester United versus Arsenal. Man United versus Arsenal. Arsenal are fighting for the league and Man United are trying to make sure they don't lose their spots in Europe, which they've held on to for a long time, albeit not playing well at all. So this game would be very important for both teams. One team trying to make sure the other team doesn't beat them. And obviously Arsenal, knowing what's at stake, win this game and you take it to the final day. That's the plan. Win the game and you're sure you're taking this game to the final day to see what happens. And anything can happen. You're not depending on the other results. So yeah, based on that, I'm going to go for an Arsenal win. It will be very difficult because from the records, it's been a while Arsenal actually won at Old Trafford. But the way Arsenal are playing now, if they go there and not get the result, I will be very, very surprised. Then I would know they've actually started feeling the heat. So I reckon they would go there and do the business and win the game and look forward to the last game of the season. Yes, so I'm also going to talk about Aston Villa versus Liverpool. That's another big game because Aston Villa, actually, it's not really a big game now because I reckon they've sealed fourth position. In as much as they've just been knocked out of Europe and all that, they can now focus on making sure they secure their spot in Europe, which I think they have, because the other teams, it might just be tricky for them to catch up with them, especially that the teams chasing them not playing well, the likes of Tottenham and Man United and Newcastle. They're still far away from catching Villa with 2 or 3 games left. So I reckon this game, Liverpool might just turn up. So this game, I'm going to go for a draw. I don't see who would win that one. Both teams would probably just even themselves out. So that's what I am thinking for that game. A draw for both teams. And then we look at the midweek game, which is Tottenham versus Manchester City. This is the game all Arsenal fans will be hoping things happen. But I'm hoping Fulham do the job before Tottenham, like I said. But Tottenham have a good record against Manchester City on their ground. But this is a different kind of scenario. This is a different game. It's not the start of the season. It's not the middle of the season. It's at the end of the season. So, even if Man City have a bad record, their records are there to be changed. They can go this time and say, yeah, this was the time we broke that voodoo and now we won our game. Just like we did against Man City this season. We haven't beat them in a long time and Arsenal beat them this season. So that might be the case here. City might go there and win, but I'm hoping for a good Tottenham team to turn up. A good Tottenham team, so they can, give a good account of themselves in this game and not say, well, it's Arsenal, we can go ahead, because that's what Tottenham fans want. If you talk to any Tottenham fan now, they are happy to lose the game 4-5-0. They don't care as long as it will cost Arsenal the league. But I know the players are professionals. They're not going to be thinking like that. So the fans can think as much as they want, but the players know that their pride and integrity is at stake. So I know they would turn up and play the game, albeit they might still lose, but you would know in the game if they're taking the game serious or not. Yeah, so we'll look at another game that's outstanding. It's Brighton versus Chelsea. Brighton versus Chelsea. So again, Brighton not been playing so well, but they got a good result, like I said, in their last game. And obviously they would play a game before this one where they play Newcastle away. So depends on what happens in that result. If they get a good result against Newcastle, this might spur them on to come here and beat Chelsea. But Chelsea as well, if they get a good result away to Nottingham Forest, they can come here as well and do the business against Brighton to end the season on a high. Well, you never know. You never know. And the last game we will be looking at to round up all the outstanding games before we get to game week 38 is Manchester United versus Newcastle. Man United versus Newcastle. That will be a big, big game. And both teams, I think, are round about each other. So whoever wins that one will probably be the team that takes that last spot in Europe. You never know. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes. But I'm going for a Man United win. And I think Man United would, come out on top of this one. And I'm hoping that obviously after they've lost at Old Trafford to Arsenal, it would spur them on to say, look, we cannot lose again at Old Trafford to Newcastle. So we'll see how the games go. Well, yeah, these are the games, all the games outstanding, game week 37. And then come Tuesday or Wednesday, that's when the games finish. Everyone will be preparing themselves for the final game of the season, where everyone will be playing at the same time. Everyone will be having a go at the same time. No one's going to be kicking off before the other. That's the normal tradition for the final game, and we're looking forward to it. But before then, let's see what happens with game week 37. Okay, guys, that brings me to the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm sure I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, guys. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us same time next week. Grand football for the love of the game.